Hold your head up, it's kasi sesifigile. The time is now today. Kuzoba mnandi, the feeling's getting stronger. The world is yours to play.
Thank you once again for joining us. Welcome to the 100% Talk Show, where every time we give you 100% talk because you are 100% real people. My name is Thembeka Bilali. Thank you once again for joining us up on the show today. We have got an absolutely amazing guest who's going to help us live better lives. But before we get to our guest, Namhlanje, I would love to thank the people that made this day possible and what it is. I would love to give a huge thanks again to Ududu Ngubane of Due Confidence Designs. I mean, this fit is absolutely amazing. If you want a garment like this or something even better, please do go over at Ngubane Entrepreneurial Center over at number B6. Yes, that's where Ududu Ngubane is. And she will custom make your clothing item, but she does have items for sale as well. I would love to give a huge thank you to Isimodeni Creations for these amazing jewelry pieces. Now again, Isimodeni Creations does custom make jewelry pieces, but she does have items for sale as well. So why don't you go over to www.isimodeni.co.za and see if you can get a jewelry item that's going to complete your look just as this one has mine. And I would love to thank so much the Musgrave Center once again. They've really become dear friends of the 100% Talk Show because once again, Musgrave Center has opened their doors to us and have hosted us so beautifully. So thank you so much to Musgrave Center. Plus, what is more, you get 1 gig of free data every time you come to shop. So download the Musgrave app and you can have 1 gig of free data every time you come and shop. So our guest for today, I would love to humbly introduce her to you so we can have this 100% talk Namhlanje. She is a consulting dietitian. She has been in private practice for over 8 years and is a legal and corporate wellness advisor and the live doctor herself. Who am I talking about? I am talking about none other than Dr Phumelele Mthembu. Hello, Doc. How are you? I'm good. Welcome. I'm good. Thank you so much for being here.
Thank you for having me.
Yeah. Thank you so much for honoring our invitation. We are living in unprecedented times, of new diseases, new illnesses, new sicknesses. With regards to that.
Yeah.
But before we figure out, yes. But just tell us Dr. Phumelele, where were you born, where did you grow up? Just tell us a bit about yourself.
Okay. Phumelele Mthembu uyintombi yaKwaNongoma. Ngizalwa kwaNongoma with a lot of siblings because my father had 3 wives. I think in total we're around 21 if I'm not mistaken. So I was the first graduate in my family. And in turn I inspired my husband and my brother to have a master's in business administration and my brother to have mechanical engineering. So, men are sometimes competitive, but I'm glad that it helped them take those steps. And so I've been in private practice for 8 years. I've held various positions as a dietitian. I've been in corporate. I've worked as a rep for Nestle. For a very limited time, but all of that experience I think was preparing me for my private practice.
Right. And so why did you go into, is it being a dietitian or is it nutrition, or why did you go into the field that you are in?
Dietetics, I think.
Dietetics,
yeah.
That's what I was looking for. Yes, do continue.
I think it chose me more than me choosing it, because I remember at home, they were like, how can you go to varsity and just study food? Who does that? And I couldn't really explain to them what I was trying to do. I just knew that I love working with people. And I believe that being a dietitian will give me that opportunity and also making an impact. I didn't know what that would be or what it would look like, but I was convinced it's an area that will allow me to first allow my purpose.
Right.
If I may put it.
Yeah. And so what is dietetics?
Basically, when it comes to izifo. Because we also work in hospital settings. If umuntu cannot take orally, let's say we coma, we will calculate our requirements. What does that person need and how much of what, and then we will prescribe as to what can be fed to the patient. Also laba abangakwazi ukudla because mhlambe isisu sabo sinenkinga, mhlambe kune obstruction, or there is a reason odokotela they don't want to use the stomach. We also do what is called total parenteral nutrition, where we feed via the vein. We also calculate and then we will prescribe what the patient must eat.
So as delve into our topic namhlanje,
Yes.
how can we use nutrition to fight disease,
Yeah.
right? So first of all, how can the two, or how are the two linked? Yeah, about disease and nutrition,
Okay.
and how we can actually use nutrition to counter disease.
Okay, I think njengamanje it's a typical example of how important nutrition is, because we were caught napping basically, in that we were going about our lives and COVID happened to us, and we were ill prepared because we've never really looked into how important eating healthy is. This is not about even not having money to buy the food. The people who do have the money are buying the wrong type of food in order to nourish themselves, which is why partly we are seeing the increase in obesity and the chronic conditions of lifestyle. So there is a huge link between some of the conditions, particularly the non-communicable diseases, and the lifestyle that we live, that we're more sedentary, we're not exercising a lot, we are eating too much, we are eating the wrong types of foods and all of that.
What are non-communicable diseases?
Those include diabetes, heart disease, just oncology, the cancer is also part of the non-communicable disease.
Sure.
Right. But it's also linked to nutrition, some of the cancers, yes.
And so here we are, with COVID-19, we're caught napping, right? Maybe what are some of the things that we should have been doing, number one, and so what can we do in future?
Okay, so one of the challenges that I've seen, because when we see a client, we take your diet history before we advise. We want to know what are you doing, so we will know what to recommend for you to do. What I've realized, and also I'm very observant when I'm doing my grocery shopping as to what people are putting in their
So you're
trolleys.
going and picking people's trolleys like, hey!
Yeah, so what we notice is that people use a lot of energy drinks. We are living at a time where stress is a problem. So stress, not just maybe in our families, the job stress or job-related stress, financial stress, particularly at this time. So sometimes to just cope, people are using energy drinks, they are using a lot of fizzy drinks, they are using a lot of 100% pure fruit juices, but no one is reading the labels as to how much sugar are we actually consuming in these products. So the high consumption of the energy drinks, or the sugary beverages, if I may maybe put it that way, leads to gaining weight. And there's new evidence also linking the high sugar intake to gout. So we need to change our way of thinking and our way of doing things in order to assist ourselves. Because I think we're going to go to a point where maybe we don't have beds to actually admit people with diabetes or hypertension or stroke or whatever it is, because there's just too many people who need assistance in those areas, right? I remember when I started practicing, we didn't have specialized wards for cardiac and all of that. And nowadays you have an ICU for cardiac, you have a ward for
Is it
cardiac.
because the increased sugars?
The increase in number of people requiring assistance, that each and every hospital now has those areas of specialization in order to assist those patients.
And so what are the danger foods? I hear you've mentioned sugar, right? So what are some of the danger, foods or elements of food?
Yes. I think what I would like to highlight is that I'm not demonizing sugar.
Okay.
But too much of it. So
Too much of anything, right?
Yes. So it's still important to have it, but too much of it is a problem. Maybe let me illustrate my point. When you buy, let's say, 100% pure fruit juice, And then you look at the nutrition information because the devil is in the detail.
Hey.
It's the information is there. There are two ways in which you can read how much sugar you are taking. One is if you won't be able to read the grams, perhaps it might help to look at the ingredients. The list of ingredients is written in a descending order, meaning they start with the high ingredient, and then they will end with the lowest.
Right.
So you know, if I'm taking my beverages, it's going to be water, then sugar, then some other things. I think the other thing is that some of the names that means sugar are written in ways that people don't acknowledge as sugar. For an example, they might say there is fructose in this product, there is sucrose, there is glucose, they might say there is dextrose, and then people can't really pick up those words. And therefore they think that, there's no sugar, so therefore this product is safe for me. Then the second one is, if you then look at the beverages, you go under your serving. So the product might say, my glass of this juice is 23.6 grams of sugar. Let's say it's a juice. So we don't know what 23.8 grams of sugar is. But
Sounds like a lot.
a teaspoon of sugar is 4 grams.
Sure.
So
you
divide the
that
23.6 by 4, and you realize that in that glass you actually consume 6 teaspoons of sugar. Now let's supposedly say that you were drinking 1 glass per meal. So it's 1 glass breakfast, lunch, and supper times that by 3. You're looking at 18 teaspoons of sugar. Then you drink an energy drink. Some are sitting at 14 teaspoons. Now you're sitting at 30 teaspoons of sugar. And we must remember that when people, after eating a meal, they don't just drink 1 glass. They drink 2, maybe 1.5, some 3, some just drink it in between meals. So in a day, that will compound to about 50 teaspoons of sugar. This is before we even look at the actual foods that are also giving us sugar. So I think that's what has led to the sugar taxing, in hope that people will start cutting down if these products are expensive.
We just need to be educated about it, because putting a tax on it, it's neither here nor there. We need to know why, what is happening, what am I consuming, what does fructose mean, what does glucose mean, all these things. Sure. It's amazing actually having you here. But as we and back to our Zulu culture, right? Which we've got foods that we love, that we have grown up on. Are they bad foods that we're eating? Why are we getting so much lifestyle diseases?
I think that when I grew up, we were grinding our own milli meal. As a result, if you ate milli meal porridge at 8, you will be full up until 12. And then if you were to eat putu and cabbage, at 6 o'clock at home, we used to say we are eating just to, because we know it's important. Okay. Right? Because we're not hungry, but we know that it's important to have a meal for supper. But then you take the same milli meal that we get nowadays, you do milli meal porridge for breakfast. By 10 o'clock, you need a reinforcement of a sandwich or 2, and then by lunchtime, you are hungry for lunch. So the problem that we are having is we are eating too much. We are eating foods that are too refined as well. That causes us it causes a surge of sugar, and then again we feel hungry very quickly.
So what, you feel very full while you're eating the meal, but very soon after you start to feel hungry again. The
other thing is, I think that we eat too quickly. We're always in a hurry. So 5 minutes tops, you're done eating. Whereas
or you're hungry.
True. And then when you look at when your brain tells you you've had enough, is after 20 minutes. So 20 minutes comes, you are already full. So that is why sometimes you eat a meal and you're like, I'm so full. Because then the brain is saying stop eating, but you've already consumed everything on the plate.